Another pretender to the 90s mascot crown came in the form of a wisecracking gecko, presumably because there weren't many animals left to choose from. It was somehow related to Dana Gould and his HBO comedy special, whatever that means, and whoever that is. The console versions actually had hundreds of lines of voice acting, something that was still kind of new for the time. Gex first appeared in his self-titled outing on 3DO, Sega Saturn, PC, and the original PlayStation. Enter the Gecko had a relatively successful 3D iteration that also appeared on PS1 and the N64. This isn't really a port of that game, but rather a 2D imagining in the same vein. The story here is that the evil Rez has stolen the world's TV programming. This was a big deal in the 90s, you understand. We didn't have YouTube or Netflix back then, and such a feat was probably more feasible. Rather than read a book or, go outside, Gex decides to venture into this media dimension to get his precious cable back. Each level takes place in a differently themed TV show. It could be a kid's cartoon, a horror film, a Chinese period drama. Gex has a varied show preference. Within each stage, there are several choices for objectives you can do. It could be something like riding a haunted elevator or smashing 5 purple mushrooms, that sort of thing. If you successfully achieve the goal you've picked, you'll earn these red remote controls, which you can exchange for access into other levels. There are also silver ones hidden about the place as well. Also, a themed collectible scattered around, which you can collect if you want. It all sounds like your standard mascot-fronted platforming affair, doesn't it? The sort of thing that by 1998 had been done a million times before. Sometimes these can be really good, and the franchises in question live on through many different iterations, your Marios, Sonics, and so on. Others only have 3 entries to choose from and are done by 1999. Guess which one Gex is? The main problem here is the control scheme. It's absolutely horrible. Your initial jump is kind of pathetic, but if you time a second jump as you land, you can increase the height, so this just takes a little practice. There's also a wall climbing mechanic that wasn't fully incorporated. You can only climb specific walls, which is definitely not how geckos do it. To kill enemies, you have to whip them with your incredibly short-range tail attack. Fine, enemies move in very rigid paths, so you can easily work out where you need to stand to smack them. It's not particularly exciting to do, but it does work. Well, except when it doesn't. Some enemies break the rules and can't be attacked at all. Really, the biggest problem with this is that the button to whip your tail is A, not B, like almost every other platformer ever. A. This, of course, relegates the jump button, arguably the most important control in a platformer, to B, which, as I always remark on when it comes up, feels all kinds of wrong. After more than a handful of games that committed this crime, I'm still at a loss as to why developers would do this. Just stop it. Were that the worst sin, I suppose a less stubborn or ingrained player could just work around it, but it's not. The most hampering thing, which is even harder to get past, is the running mechanic. Holding a direction starts you walking, but after about 2 seconds of this, the lizard will start sprinting. Now, in a lot of 2D platformers, you walk with a single press and initiate running by double tapping the direction and then holding it. Here, you simply cannot walk for more than 2 seconds without having to stop and start again. This is especially infuriating when you're trying to time tight platforming jumps correctly. You'll be gearing up to press the jump button based on the walking speed, only for Gex to break into a dash just before the edge of the platform, causing you to miss your jump and just fall back down. It's totally maddening, and there isn't really a counter for it. You have to have some forward momentum in order to jump forwards. You can't jump then move like you can in Mario, for example. It's amongst the clunkiest, most uncomfortable jumping mechanism I can remember on the Game Boy. Certainly the worst on GBC so far. And hey, why not throw in some unreliable platform detection to make landing even harder while we're at it? The only place the game does shine is in the level designs. There's enough variation in the backgrounds to take you from vibrant to spooky and everywhere in between, and the pickups and enemies are thematic too. Unfortunately, this doesn't extend to the music, which is average at best, grating at worst. The layouts themselves do sort of fit the thematics, or at least the enemies and their movements do. Platformers like this work best when they're not just a linear left-to-right-a-thon, and here you will have to do a decent amount of exploration if you want to grab everything. This is fine, but can occasionally lead to you forgetting where on the map you are or where you've been. That's not exclusive to Gex, of course, but a common issue in many Game Boy games due to the console's small resolution. If it weren't for the terrible controls, this game would be smack bang in the center of average for a Game Boy platformer. Because movement is so frustrating, it relegates Gex, Enter the Gecko, quite far down the pile to a game you probably won't want to play for very long. Can't speak for the PlayStation or the Nintendo versions, as I've never played them and probably won't after this, but if the first of the pair of Game Boy Color titles is anything to go by, it's pretty obvious why Gex never made it out of the 20th century.